Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, friends, here we are live once again on this final edition of Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic call to action in this week-long campaign that we have conducted since Monday, really coming to you live on LinkedIn with the objective of creating awareness of the need for lay Catholic leaders in civil society and recruiting supporters, financial supporters for our apostolate, for our mission of um, investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for the world. And today's final day of this call to action is going to be dedicated to mission, precisely mission, because each one of us, we know very well those who are faithful, practicing, good willing, never perfect believers, the faithful Catholics. We know that we have a mission. Some of us have already discovered it. We are living it as faithfully as we can. Others are discerning and trying to figure out just what God is asking of us, right? So I thought that there's several things I want to do today. Towards the end of the day, I want to show you a report so that you can see how far TLI has come from its beginnings. I want to show you the evolution of the program with the numbers. I have a report to present to you. I will be showing you a PowerPoint presentation that will show you some graphs and see our trajectory from 2018 up until today. I will say that to last. So if you want to see that, the special report that I have prepared for you, you're going to have to wait until the end of the live stream. Other things that I'm going to share with you today. But before we get into any of that, before we get into mission, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own mission. I think that I want to ask you at the beginning of this live stream to click on that link about the live stream, the one that you're seeing right there. If you are joining us through LinkedIn, if you're watching this video recording on YouTube, then you will find it at the bottom, right below the video that you're watching. You will find the link right there. Either way, whatever you find the link, and the link is available, it's out there. You can just find it. The link to click to support the mission of Tepeyac leadership. I'm going to ask you to consider supporting us in two ways. The first way is for those of you who God has blessed in such a way that you are able to make an investment to make a major gift to our apostolate, to make a gift that will impact powerfully the apostolate today in such a way that we can advance and move forward with confidence as we continue our activities, as we go into our conference, the Hour of the Laity in Mexico City, this November 6th to the 8th, as we recruit the 9th generation of Tepeyac leaders this October 1st to November 10th, which is the window when people can apply for admission into the program. As we launch, I haven't said this publicly yet, but what the heck? This is the last day of the live stream. I'm going to share with you this news. So the cat is going to get out of the bag. We are going to make a track of the program available for 2026 in Spanish. And this is going to be primarily for Catholic professionals in Latin America, Spanish-speaking Catholic professionals in Latin America. You know, people have been asking me for this for a long time, from the beginning almost, and people almost assumed that because the program was named Tepeyac, that maybe it was a Spanish-based formation experience, but it's never been. Everything we've done has been in English. It was developed at the Diocese of Phoenix for all the faithful of the Diocese of Phoenix. And then when we went national and international, we continue carrying on our apostolate in English. And that's probably going to be our primary audience, but we are branching out and now starting in 2026, offering a track of the program en español for those who command that language and maybe prefer it, or maybe that's the exclusive language. Saying this in English, of course, has no impact for those we're trying to reach with the new track. We will make the announcement where we need to make it as well so that they know and they can participate. So anyway, those are some of the things that we have coming up. But in order for us to continue launching all of these wonderful initiatives and growth opportunities that we see ahead for our apostolate, we need your support. And for you to be part of our financial supporters, you need to click on that link, make a one-time major gift if you are able to. You're going to really boost our ability to move the mission forward. And if you're not able to make a major gift in the philanthropy world, that's typically what's referred to as one of those gifts that definitely are substantive and can make a big difference for our organization. But my favorite gifts, I think, are those that are a commitment over time, regardless of the amount, because that really shows that a person, I mean, we're grateful for any way of support, but the person really believes that this is a long-term vision, a long-term mission, and they want to be part of it. So I want to invite you to consider becoming a monthly financial supporter at whatever level you are able to, whether that is $100 a month. We have a friend, I always think of him because I think it is the largest monthly amount that I know of that we have received and we continue to receive, $400 a month. Not everybody can do that, but a lot of people might be able to do $100 a month. We have a few of those, $50 a month, $20 a month. I think that if all of the TLI family, everybody that loves our apostolate, that believes in the mission, that wants to see it grow and succeed and impact the world, if everyone committed to at least $10 a month, we wouldn't be struggling with any of our resources. We'd definitely be able to move forward and just focus exclusively on the mission, because we know that you have our backs, and I know that you do. I just want to ask you to put that into action and become a monthly financial supporter by clicking on the link that you see above here if you're watching this on LinkedIn, or right below if you're watching it later on YouTube. Whatever is the case, we're going to dive into the topic of the day, which is mission. Let's talk about mission. These days I've been talking about a lot of things, and we've talked about identity and purpose. And if you allow me, identity and purpose are two very important concepts in our apostolate, because over time, over the years, we've come to realize that today's problems, all of the problems that we see in society, the things that we are concerned as faithful Catholics, the things that we watch television or read the news online, and we're really frustrated and concerned about the things that are happening in the culture. Many of these issues of concern to us Christians, the issues that keep us up at night, or maybe we're anxious about, those of us who are family men or women and have children, and we're worried about the next generations. All of these issues, but it's not limited to that. I mean, the war in the Middle East, Russia and Ukraine, and I could go on. I think there is no shortage. There's never a shortage of problems in the world. Some of the problems that we see today are foundational, really. They have to do with our understanding of what it means to be a human being, our understanding of what it means to be a man or a woman or a family, or when does life begin. All of these things that everybody used to just simply know, they were common sense. Today, there's a lot of confusion there. There's a lot of confusion. And we're convinced that at the root, at the source of many of this confusion in the world today is the lack of understanding of who we are and why we're here. As I said yesterday, and for those of us who are believers, who are baptized, who we are should be very clear. We're children of God. That's who we are, before we're anything else. And that's where everything else is ordered according to this understanding, foundational understanding of our identity as children of God. From there should flow a natural understanding of the purpose of our lives, because if we are children of God, we should know, or we must know, that we were made for heaven. We were made for holiness. We were made to be saints, friends. That's the ultimate goal of our lives. There's nothing else. We're not here to be millionaires, to be popular. We're not here to receive awards. Awards. Nothing wrong with any of these things, because to be wealthy, to be well known, to be prominent, to receive an award, all of these can be good instruments to influence the world for Christ if our hearts are in the right place and we're only seeking to become mirrors that reflect the glory of God, then nothing wrong with these things. But those are not the purpose of our lives. Those are not the reasons why we were put here. The only reason we were created was to be saints. So now that we have that clear, we can move on to mission. Because now, yes, we have that common identity as children of God and that common purpose, which is heaven, holiness, to be saints. But we also were created as unique individuals, irreplicable versions of ourselves. And as such, we also were given, some of us already know it and have it in front of us, we can hold it and are excited about driving our mission, our individual, concrete, personal mission. Each one of us has one. And there are a lot of people out there living their lives, or should I say, wasting their lives without knowing their mission, without understanding what their mission is. I'm not talking about vocation. We might have a vocation to the married life or to the priesthood or religious or consecrated life. That's our vocation. Our mission is that which was placed in front of our hands to move forward. That effort, that goal, that objective, that very important thing that must be accomplished, that only we can accomplish because it is our personal, individual mission. So, just to give you one example, the one that I know the most, I'm going to talk about my mission today. So, we're going to go back a little bit, and I'm going to just share a little bit about my own walk on the faith, right? Those of you who know me know that I am originally from Peru, like the Pope, Peruvian American. I was born in Peru, lived there since I was 15, and now I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen, and I am very proud and happy and grateful to live in this nation, in the United States of America. But of course, I keep Peru in a very special place in my heart, very special place in my heart. Um, and when I think back about my upbringing in Peru, I was the oldest. I am the oldest of four. I have two younger. The two younger siblings were two sisters. They're all adult now. And then the second child is my brother, who I love all of them dearly. And so we were brought up in Peru, and my experience growing up was that of growing up without a father. My father simply walked out of the picture when I was young. And so at home, growing up in Peru, we didn't really practice the faith. We didn't really grow up practicing the faith. All of our siblings, all of us, had the sacraments. We had the sacraments, and I don't know. It's curious to me. It's interesting to think about how it was always important to make sure for my mom that we had the sacraments, yet we didn't really practice the faith in any meaningful fashion. It seems to me that if you are still from Peru, you are Catholic just because that's just it comes with the territory. You're born in Peru, you become a Catholic. You don't really think about it. You receive the sacraments, and that's a blessing actually. But because of that, we take it for granted, and we don't necessarily, not everybody knows the treasure that it is to be born into this faith, this true faith, the one true faith, right? And so I remember, I do always mention this because I do remember a beautiful memory of me as a child and my mother teaching me how to pray. That's the one thing I remember that she did. And perhaps that little small gesture had the effect of getting me to where I am. I don't know. But I remember that. She taught me how to pray at night in bed, right before going to bed. I remember that, the guardian angel prayer. Other than that, we didn't really live out the faith. We would go out to other people's sacraments. Somebody was getting married, there was a funeral, there was a baptism, things like that. To the point that when we moved to the United States, we really, in a different context now, a context of a primarily Protestant, at least at that time, 1996, country, in no visible fashion, culturally, was the country that we came to, a Catholic country. So in that context, if we were nominally, very nominally practicing the faith in Peru, um, in a Catholic context, in a Catholic um, country. Here in the United States, well, we weren't practicing anything now. We were here, and my mom got here. She started looking for work. We started going to school. The story about how we came, our story as immigrants is very interesting because we never came here to migrate, really. We came here, my mom and my siblings, to say goodbye to my grandfather, who was actually sick. He had been living in the United States for many years, and he was ill, and the family knew he was dying. So we came to say goodbye to him. That's why we came to the United States when I was 15 years old with my siblings and with my mother. But when we arrived, my grandfather, we arrived somewhere in the spring of 1996, I believe so. And so he didn't die immediately. He stayed with us for a few months in the hospital, and then we were able to bring him home and to my grandmother's home, who was also had been living here for some time. And so summer came, and then fall came, and my grandfather was still with us. And so my mom said, well, I better send you guys to school. And we started going to school, and eventually my grandfather passed, and we stayed. My mother decided that we were going to stay. I was still a minor. I didn't make the decision to come to this country. I didn't make the decision to stay, but we all stayed, right? And so I lived here in the United States. Initially, we lived in Houston, Texas. Then we moved to Arizona after some time. And I never really, the more I grew up, the more I became an adult, I never really practiced any faith anymore, neither my mother or my siblings. And what happened is that, or my, at that point, stepfather, there was no faith practice at home. And at that point, we were all just preoccupied with making it in this country, right? My siblings and I trying to finish school, get a career going. My mother trying to find a job, then a better job, trying to better ourselves in this country. So the American dream, and that's what occupied our minds and hearts early on our lives here in the United States. So the concept of faith, the concept of mission, none of that was really relevant. I started going to here initially went to the University of Houston, then transferred to Arizona State University. Initially was studying journalism, and before I graduated, I got a job at one of our local um, Spanish television networks here in the United States. You check out my LinkedIn profile, you see who they are. And so I worked there for about 5 years because I was already basically practicing journalism without having finished the career. And I was just at the midpoint of the career. I began to see a lot of differences between what I was being taught and what I was doing in practice. And I saw that a lot of what I was learning, at least back then, it was a little outdated. It was out of touch with reality in journalism. So I decided to switch majors. I actually graduated with a bachelor's in history. And, and I moved on and continued with my career in journalism. Then I left journalism. I just wanted to do something new. And I went into business. I opened a real estate brokerage firm. Then I opened an insurance agency. And I was just in business, doing those right before opening those businesses. I had met my wife. We married. And actually, it was through the marriage preparation program of the Diocese of Phoenix, led by Bishop Olmsted and under the direction of my friend Mike Felon, that I actually began to take a second look at my Catholic faith. The Diocese of Phoenix has a terrific, a tremendous formation experience for those couples that want to get married. That they are all very frustrated at first when we hear that you have to wait 6 or up to 9 months to get married, go through different talks and sessions and retreats. You get a mentor couple, depending on the parish that you are. The one that we were in was very intense. You had to take some, or at least used to have to take some natural family planning classes. Very intense. And I remember that it was during the retreat, part of the marriage preparation program, that I actually began to think about maybe this Catholic thing is actually real. Maybe it's actually a good thing. Because back then I was really just getting married in the Catholic Church because my wife was Catholic, because it was what everybody did. I wasn't really thinking of it. But the program itself, the process of preparation for marriage, made me think. And so I was in. At some point, I was in. I was suddenly in and thirsty and hungry to learn more, to advance more, to grow more. In my business, I remember that during my off times, I would read and just read and read books and books. I never went to Catholic school or Catholic university, so I had very poor formation. And until today, if you ask me where my formation comes from, I tell people my formation comes from Pope Benedict. Back then, Pope Benedict was Benedict 16 was the Pope. And I remember this is how it started. I once stumbled into one of his Wednesday audiences, his Wednesday catechesis. And so I was just perplexed by the beauty of the church history and teaching that he was really bringing together into his catechesis. And I just fell in love, fascinated, and by his incredible way to explain the faith in I think, genius yet simple manner, but very, very powerful manner. I think those of you who read or have read Pope Benedict XVI know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the man was brilliant, and I forecast that one day he will be a doctor of the church. I think he just gotta be. He's brilliant. So once I discovered the Wednesday catechesis, I began reading the first one, and then every week the next one and the next one. But I couldn't came to the point where I couldn't wait to the next week. So I went back and I read all the ones that I had missed all the way to the beginning. I thought, well, if these are good, how good would his documents be? And I noticed that at the Vatican website, there was every single encyclical letter, apostolic letter, everything that apostolic exhortation, everything that he had read, homilies, and well, not everything, but probably most of what he has written, or even his speeches when he would travel around the world. So I consumed everything that is published or was published back then at the Vatican website from Pope Benedict XVI. I read it up until the time that he died. And then when I finished it, because I literally read it all, I went back and I thought, well, if he's that good, I got to check out JP too. And I read everything that St. John Paul II, everything that's published or was published back then at the Vatican website from St. John Paul II, the Wednesday audiences, the speeches, homilies, the apostolic exhortation, everything. That's where my formation comes from. Then I went from the Vatican website. I read the Catechism of the Catholic Faith. Then I got a Bible. I read it was a Spanish version of the Vulgata. I read the Bible back and forth a couple of times. And so that's my formation. It's just self-taught, really. And that's the beauty of our Catholic faith. The resources are out there. If you want to learn the faith, it's out there. You simply have to consume it and understand. And it never ends. It never ends, right? We know that. And I continue to read, not as in such a disciplined manner as I used to with those two popes, but I continue to read what the popes, Pope Francis and now Pope Leo, their homilies and their audiences, whatever's out published by the Vatican. You ought to do it, friends. I really advise it. That's my conversion and formation story. But I still didn't know, didn't even think of the concept of a mission per se. I just wanted to live my Catholic faith now. I was running my business, trying to be the best father and husband I could be, when I a friend of mine invited me to be part of this project, a radio station, a new Spanish Catholic radio station that was going to start in Phoenix. It was a new project, and Familia Radio was launched over a decade ago. And they invited me to be part of that project because they knew I had some media background, and so I did. It was interesting to me. I was rekindling my love for the faith, so I thought, yeah, this sounds fun. And I had a talk show, a Spanish Catholic radio talk show daily, Monday to Friday, for about 5 years at Enfamilia Radio. It was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. I would talk about all kinds of things, the things happening in the news, in the culture, and try to give the Catholic angle, always with a focus on sanctification of work, which by then was already a big theme in my life. I had already met one of my best friends in heaven, Saint Jose Maria Escriva, and so this was definitely a big theme in my life. I think it's a transformative theme in my life ever since I came across the teachings of Saint Jose Maria Escriva. That's another story, but I can tell you that it was all because of that ridiculous movie, the Da Vinci Code, that has nothing of truth, but it started my curiosity to learn about just what Saint Jose Maria taught about. And anyway, that got me going, and I was volunteering, running my business, volunteering at the radio station. And Bishop Olmsted, the Bishop of Phoenix back then, heard me on the radio. He listened to my show, and it seems that he was a regular listener to my show in the morning, I guess, when he was doing his commute to the diocese from the rectory at the cathedral. And so I received an invitation to lunch from Bishop Olmsted. And so I went to the diocese. We had lunch there. We met a few times after that. I began to be invited to a few Catholic events at the diocese. And the point came when a position opened up, and I was offered a position by Bishop Olmsted, the position of director of the Hispanic Mission Office. And so I remember coming back to home and telling my wife about that. And I said, I've just been offered the job I never knew I always wanted. And this was the job of director of the Hispanic Mission Office at the Diocese of Phoenix. On the first day in the job, I met with Bishop Olmsted and I asked him, Bishop, what is it that you would like me to have accomplished, seen accomplished 5 years from now? That was my question to him. And he thought about it for a second, and then he said, I would like you to have identified who the leaders are, the Catholic leaders are in the Hispanic community, and bring them closer to our fold, closer to the church, closer to the diocese. And so I started with that. Leadership was there from the beginning. Bishop Olmsted put leadership in my personal mission as director of the Hispanic Mission Office. So I thought, well, okay, my mission is within the Hispanic Catholic community in Phoenix. And so I ran with that, and we developed a lot of programs. We tried different things here and there, definitely connected with the leaders the bishop had asked me to. There weren't that many of them, not that many who were actually faithful and practicing. That's the sad reality. But those that were there and are there we definitely did the best to integrate them to the activity and the life of the diocese as leaders in the community. So while doing our different programs at the Diocese of Phoenix, still running the show at Enfamilia Radio, I had sold my business by then, working at the Diocese of Phoenix, is when I was sent. And I started with this early this week. So if you want to hear this story, you're going to have to go back and read the first few live streams. So you hear the origin story of Tepeyac Leadership Initiative, because today is about personal mission. But that's when I was sent by the Diocese of Phoenix to participate, to be a participant at a community secular leadership development program in Phoenix. I was a representative of the Diocese of Phoenix, one of about 30 participants in this program in the community. When I experienced that very secular, very much anti-Catholic program, coming out of that program led to the creation of Tepeyac Leadership Initiative. And I never thought of it. I never thought I would ever work for the church. I never thought I would ever launch or found anything or start anything like Tepeyac Leadership. Yet, That is the mission that the Lord has given me. And now, when I think back at my professional experience, what I have done in life throughout the years, I now can see how everything that I've done in my life sort of funnels into this. My experiences in journalism is what allows me to be comfortable doing what I'm doing here today. My experience with journalism, right? Even though I have my accent, I'm never gonna get rid of the Peruvian accent. It's not an accident that I have an accent, but all those skills transfer. Even when I was a business owner, running a business, later on I got an MBA, all of these. And when I was getting my MBA, I didn't quite know why I was getting the MBA. I just felt prompted by God to go back to school, get that master's in business administration, and so that I can be ready for the next thing. I was sensing that there was going to be a next thing, but I wasn't quite sure what it was, right? But now I see that it all fits as the pieces in a puzzle fit. And I am here, and I consider this the formation, the development of the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. I consider that my personal mission. I'm not here by accident. There's no such a thing as accident. There's no such a thing as coincidence. Nothing happens because of coincidence, friends. You're not watching this live stream because it is a coincidence. You were called, you were meant to watch this live stream. And hopefully, our message will get to you in such a way that you will feel invited, challenged, encouraged to be part of this global mission that we founded at the Diocese of Phoenix now 8 years ago. Friends, that is the story of my mission. That's what mission is. And for you, for all of you, it might be, I'm sure it is an entirely different mission. Everybody has a different mission. Some people have, I know, discovered it. They embrace it and they live it with passion, right? To the best of their capacity. And some are discerning it. And that's one thing that the TLI program is very good at, helping participants discern what their mission is, what God is asking of them next in their professional lives, in their spiritual lives. And it's a beautiful process that we see every spring when people come to us. And very often the participants of the program come to TLI when they find themselves at an intersection, sort of at a Y. And the program allows them to discern what the Lord is asking of them next in their professional lives and in their spiritual lives. And they're able to really pivot in whichever direction God wants them to be. This is why many of them describe the program as a catalyst. The word didn't come from us. This is how they describe it, the graduates, the Tepeyac leaders, a catalyst in their careers, in their professionals, and spiritual lives. So we feel that this is the team of TLI, the board of TLI, the volunteers, the staff, everybody behind what we do. I am only the face of this apostolate, but there is a small army, a small staff, a little larger board of directors, and a small army of volunteers behind this apostolate. We feel that is a responsibility to do what we do. It's not ours. It's something the Lord has given us to move forward, to take care of, to grow, to invest in, and to share with others. That's how we feel about what we do at Tepeyac Leadership. So because of that, um, today we're going to wrap up and close on several of the themes that we touched on throughout the week. And the first one is an invitation for you to participate in the TLI program. This is our flagship formation experience. There's nothing we do that is more profound, in-depth, impactful than the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative program, the TLI program. Now on its 8th generation. Next year will be the 9th generation of TLI. It's going to be open for admissions, for people to apply for admission from October 1st to November 10th. So you are invited to apply for admission and experience this life-changing formation program, which is Tepeyac Leadership Initiative, TLI. The next invitation is for you to join the Hour of the Laity. The Hour of the Laity, now on its 3rd year. This our second formation platform. Our second formation platform it's a second platform to advance the same mission, the mission of forming lay Catholic leaders for civil society. The Hour of the Laity takes place in November. And maybe next year we're thinking that we're going to move it to October. But This year, still just like the years, the year one and year two, we're gonna run it in November. It's not gonna be November 6th to the 8th, and we have moved it from Christ Cathedral at the Diocese of Orange. We have moved it to the Basilica of Guadalupe, to Tepeyac Hill in Mexico City. That is so special to us because Our Lady of Guadalupe is, along with Juan Diego, also they are founders of this apostolate. They are the patron saints of the work that we have been doing, that we continue to do. And we're just thrilled to know that we're taking the conference to them, right there, right where Juan Diego is buried, right where the authentic, the original, the only original, right, painted by God, image of Our Lady of Guadalupe at the Basilica of Guadalupe. That's where the conference is going to be, friends. So see, this is no longer just a conference, a top-notch, terrific experts, professional experience for development, for tapping into resources, for networking. But in addition to that, now it has become a pilgrimage, and you're invited to be part of that. But in addition to that, um, today I said I was going to share a report with you, and I'm going to do just that as soon as I get a little bit of this coffee to recharge the battery and keep going. The report that I want to share with you has to do with what we have accomplished over the years. And I want to give credit where credit is due. This report was prepared by Wendy Cano, the operations manager at Tepeyac Leadership. She is my right-hand lady. She and I really are the ones that are, Bishop Olmsted is very involved as well. Yeah, there is a small army of people behind it, but I would say that Wendy and I are definitely the ones that are more hands-on into what's happening. Wendy put this report together, and it's a simple report on where we have gone, how we started, where we've been, where we are. And of course, I'll tell you about where we're going in terms of our advancing our mission. What is our mission? Our mission is to deliver civic leadership development to lay Catholic professionals in the US and beyond. You can read it on our website, tliprogram.org. Click above and read the mission and the vision statement and meet our board and all of that. That's our mission, to form leaders. Very simple. How do we do it? Two platforms, the TLI program and the Hour of the Laity conference, right? We also have our online magazine, The Catholic Professional. Hopefully that's a place where you can find value in terms of the content. And within it, we have our own social media space. It's ours, and you can join it. It's free, and you're welcome to join it as well to meet other Catholic professionals from around the world. So yeah, you see us very active on LinkedIn, but we are just leveraging the opportunity that LinkedIn presents. We own our own space. It's a social media space exclusive to our community, and you're welcome to be part of it. Back to the report. What I'm going to show you here is how the Tepeyac Leaders Network, right? The TLI family, we call the TLI family anyone who is involved with our apostolate, anyone who cares about what we do and prays for what we do. If that's you, you are a member of the TLI family. Within the TLI family, you will also find people who decide to mentor younger professionals who are going through our formation experiences, people who are invited to be speakers at the different sessions, people who are volunteers, obviously the graduates of the program, the Tepeyac leaders, we're going to talk about them now, and our donors, absolutely, 100%, the people that contribute to make this apostolate a reality, this vision, this mission a reality. And a small army of people, really, that just pray for us. We know they're there. How do we know that they're there? Because we have a newsletter that has about 4,000 people that follow, and we can see that they open the emails and read them. We can see that. That's what technology does today. And how do we know? Because we have a social media presence. We're on Instagram. I think our best presence is LinkedIn, and that's very appropriate. Our LinkedIn page for Tepeyac Leadership has about 4,000 people, and the LinkedIn page for the Catholic Professional, which belongs to us too, is part of the apostolate, that has about 8,000 people. My personal account on LinkedIn has about 20,000 people, and we know that a lot of these people are involved and care about what we do, pray for what we do, and we consider them the TLI family. But because this is about forming leaders, and our flagship program is the TLI program, the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative Program, what you're reading in the screen. Today, ending to wrap up with this week-long live stream series, I'm gonna tell you how we have grown concretely with numbers the Tepeyac Leaders Network, the people who have graduated from our formation, from the TLI program over the years. So here we go. When we started in 2018, we started with a group of about 35 people graduating from the program. And mind you, every year we receive into the program just a few more than the number of people that actually graduate from TLI. And I've researched this, and this happens in any program at all, especially this type of program, a volunteer, something that people does simply because they want to commit to something to better themselves. There's often a little issue with retention. You don't get 100% people that begin to finish, unfortunately. But for the most part, we do fairly well. I think most people that go through the program and the program completed, but we always lose a few along the way for different reasons. Year one, we graduated 35 people from the TLI program. As you can see, most of them were men, and then we had definitely a good presence of women. This is when the program was still in person and still at the Diocese of Phoenix. It was very much a diocesan reality for the Diocese of Phoenix. And these are the graduates. 35 people graduated from TLI on that year. And you can see that most of them year one came from Arizona, but we already had some presence from outside the state, for sure. People that perhaps were here and they were able to participate. In 2019, we began to see a little growth. 2019, we were still just primarily an Arizona reality. And you can see that on that second year, we had just a few more ladies than men in the program, right? It's always been about split in the middle, half and half, men and women, but it varies. It always varies just a little bit. And we were able to graduate 25 people from the program. This is in 2019. 2019, 100% of the participants were from and in the state of Arizona. There's still no penetration nationally or internationally. 2020, I think everybody remembers the year 2020. A lot of things happened in 2020. 2020 is one of those historical years. It marked a new era in several ways, right? We know the pandemic took place. The pandemic was the marker, what brought about the change. It was tragic in many respects, and it was life-changing in many other ways. And as only God knows how to do, some good was brought out of this horrible pandemic situation, historical situation that we had. So in 2020, we had 43 people graduate from TLI. 43 people. You can begin to see how the interest was quickly growing in what we had to offer at that point. Even till now, I don't know, I'm not aware of any other Catholic leadership program that does exactly what we do, with the precise focus that we do in civic leadership, in board service. I don't know of any other. And I know the world is big enough for multiple programs out there, but as far as we know, we're the only one that's doing precisely what we're doing in the way that we are doing it in this niche. And you can see how in 2020, the interest in the work that we're doing was already taking off. In 2020, we began to see participation. This is the year when we branched out. This was the first year, I said it earlier this week when I was telling the story of TLI, the year when we were running two programs simultaneously. We had a cohort in Phoenix and a cohort in Los Angeles for California. And we even had some participation from Florida, Washington, other states were present, but it was primarily two groups that we were running. And this was still in person, but it was actually hybrid. Midpoint in the program, we had to pivot into the virtual platform, as I have explained over this week. And you can see that we still were serving Arizona first, then California, and then beginning to serve other states. The Southwest was where we were born and still is where we have our largest footprint, as we are present in so many other parts of the world. Then the year 2021, you can see there some of us were still wearing masks. We didn't know if we needed to or not, but just in case, some of us were wearing masks. And we graduated in 2021, we graduated 56 people from the program. 56 people that had gone through this in-depth formation experience, 5 months, 18 weeks, 18 3-hour sessions, their Zoom coffees, their meeting with their mentors, their weekly reading handouts, their in-person retreat on a weekend, the whole experience. 56 people who had gone through the experience and graduated with their own individual, unique leadership commitment, sent off into the world to lead with the values of the gospel. 2021. In 2021, we were fully virtual, and this is how we grew so exponentially, because we were in the virtual platform now. We were able to get participation from everywhere around the country. And I think we even began, yeah, right there, you see it, Uganda. We began to see participation from outside the United States in 2021. And you can see that Arizona was still the state, the place, and the Diocese of Phoenix particularly, that benefited the most from our work. And California was second, continues to be, but we were expanding our reach in other parts of the nation. Then we get, and you can see outside the United States, primarily Africa. We were already putting the flag. TLI has arrived in Africa. 2021. By 2022, we were graduating 61 Tepeyac leaders. You can see it's almost the same every year. It just varies a little bit. The pendulum switches just a little bit back and forth, but men and women almost split in the middle. And the distribution of the participation, now you can see Arizona leads the way, California is second, but we had participants in Texas, New York, other states represented, more and more states were represented, and Mexico, not New Mexico, Mexico was now represented, and we continue to get more participation from outside. We weren't looking for them. They were coming to us. It was at about 2022 when we realized, yeah, no wonder they come to us, because they can, because now we're virtual. So why limit ourselves to just the United States when we have a global mission? It's on the mission statement. And for 2023, we began incorporating some activity internationally for our recruitment efforts. But you can see that the growth was already happening in 2022. And in 2022, we already had participation from outside the United States. There's already a pretty good group of countries represented, and 3 participants from Mexico, Costa Rica, Pakistan. I didn't even know we had Catholics. I always say that. I didn't even know we had Catholics in Pakistan. India, the United States for sure, Uganda, and Belize. Belize, small country of Belize in Central America. This is the 2023 cohort. Get ready for the next slide, because this is where you're going to see where the explosion in growth went. This was just incredible, and I'm so proud. In 2023, again, split almost in the middle, men and women participating in the program. We graduated about 60 people. And out of those 60 people, look at the distribution in the country. California and Arizona lead the way, but now that majority has diminished a little bit. They continue to lead the way. They probably always will. This is where the epicenter of our activities radiates out from. But Texas has grown substantially, and you can see other states, right? Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Louisiana, Minneapolis, Texas, Washington, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia. All of these states continue to send people to the program, because once we get one person in the ground, they tell their friends and they tell others, and that's how we continue to grow. In 2023, look at what happened to the map internationally. Look at what happened to the map internationally. Look at the participation of countries. And you can see the proportion, right? The United States still the place that we serve first. That's just because this is where we were born. This is where we started the apostolate. Mexico continues to be very important, and we see high representation from some of the countries that we've seen before. The UK, 3 people from the UK. The UK is a very important place also for TLI. Uganda, Mexico, again, Singapore, the Netherlands, Poland, right? At this point, I think most European countries have had representation in the program. This was 2023. Now, get ready for 2024. This was last year, very exciting year. In 2024, we had 66 Tepeyac leaders graduate from the program. Again, split almost in the middle, men and women. And the participation in the United States, actually, look, it went from what was it in 2023, 83%. It actually went to 55%. It's still the majority, but you can see the international growth. It has taken off. There's that interest. It's just, we live in the right time for it. The technology allows it. The means are there. And so it just makes sense because the Catholic Church is a universal reality. Catholic means universal. We're global. We are as universal as the church. Our mission is as universal as the church. And so you see that in 2024, we had 47 participants in the USA, but we had 3 from the UK, Zimbabwe, Oman, Kenya, Spain, Lebanon, India, Uganda, Gambia, France, Portugal, Philippines, Italy, Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica. I don't want to pronounce that country because I might not do it right. Ireland, you're seeing it on your screen. Montenegro and Sweden. Some countries, as you have seen, that I didn't even know existed because my geography I thought was pretty well, but I didn't quite recognize that one listed right there. In 2025, the first year, you see the image of the Basilica of Guadalupe in there. The first year that we went to Guadalupe, 8 years after launching our apostolate, we go in a way to say thanks, to say thank you to Our Lady of Guadalupe, to Juan Diego, for interceding for the fruits of the program. 8 years later, we visit, and this, actually tomorrow, Saturday, June 28th, we will graduating the Tepeyac leaders of this cohort. Again, almost split in the middle. And you will see that this year we have, again, the United States has the most. It'll probably, this seems to be that this is the pattern that's going to be seen very often. The United States is always going to be about half of the total number of participants, and the other half will be split among the other countries that are actively participating in the program. And you can see how much Italy, Lebanon, the UK, Uganda, those are just communities where we now have really a handful of Tepeyac leaders. Peru, Philippines, India, Portugal, Chile, Lebanon, Bulgaria, Costa Rica, Mexico, growing exponentially, Mexico, Germany. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Italy and the UK, a lot of interest in these countries for the work that we're doing. 411 Tepeyac leaders, margin of error, there might be a margin of error here, but about 411 Tepeyac leaders. And you see some of their beautiful faces right here. Men and women from different walks of life, from different professions and careers and areas of expertise, and from all over the world, and from different age groups too. We don't have an age restriction. We do get a lot of people who are millennials, but we also get people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s participate in the program, and the program welcomes all Catholic professionals. That's the only criteria, 2 words, Catholic professional. Even if you are about to retire from your job, but you feel you still have some years ahead of you where you want to lead, and then we think we have something for you if you want to receive the formation that we have available. So again, split almost in the middle, men and women who are in the program. 22 countries represented around the world. And something beautiful, we have a team of about 150 experts that deliver the formation through the sessions. And the vision was from the beginning that long term, we were going to replace these experts who are phenomenal, terrific leaders already in the world, leading, making a difference, that we were going to gradually replace them by Tepeyac leaders. And they don't mind because they want to see new upcoming talent. And we will replace the whole roster of our experts for the training that we provide with the graduates of our program themselves. And so we are about one third accomplishing that goal. 50, about 50 of the 150 experts that we use for our formation are graduates of their program, are Tepeyac leaders. The goal is that long term, they will all be Tepeyac leaders. So everybody that's teaching or putting together a presentation knows what it's like to be experiencing the program, receiving the information because they themselves have. And the same thing with the mentors and everybody that's involved. We want to continue to grow that way as well. So we're very proud and thankful that we have 48 Tepeyac leaders who are back as experts in the program. So that's it. tliprogram.org for more information. That is what we have done over these past 8 years, friends. That is where we have been and where we want to go. Only God will determine. It's entirely in God's hands. But our vision is to continue to grow this global network of lay Catholic leaders for civil society, to continue to offer the program to Catholics in every continent, to continue to grow our annual conference. And for now, we plan on holding it at the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City, where our mother, where the image of our mother is at the Basilica of Guadalupe. Perhaps later, we might take it to a few other Marian sites. We have friends and are developing relationships in Fatima too. So only the Lord knows. Maybe at some point, we are thinking about possibly replicating the Hour of the Laity conference and have a version in Europe so that the people on the other side of the Atlantic can attend a version of the conference as well. The Lord will say whether these plans can materialize, but the Lord works through us. And if we are going to have the resources to put into action this great vision, this universal, this global, this Catholic vision, we need to count on your support, friends, on your support. So I am going to ask you one last time before I end this live stream, the last of this series of 5 live streams. I'm going to ask you to pray about whether God might be calling you to be one of our financial supporters by making a one-time major gift, which will have a tremendous impact. It will allow us to create scholarships to fund the formation for people in developing nations or young professionals in the United States, right? People who can't pay their own way to receive the formation, maybe to make it easier for some people to attend the conference. And so that we can host a conference. All of these things are so expensive, friends. You have no idea. And those of you who cannot do that, perhaps you can and are feeling called to become a monthly supporter, to commit at a level of 150, 20, 10, or $5 a month. Give up a coffee once a month. Give up a subscription that you're not using. What could you give up if you care about our mission, if you care about our apostolate? That's what I ask you. And I ask you to put it into prayer, friends. You know, everybody is in a different circumstance, but I believe that if you're watching this, if you follow us, if you care about Tepeyac leadership, then your heart is already there and you just need to act. And click on the link right above the live stream here on LinkedIn or right below the live stream if you're watching it on YouTube. But I'm going to end with the prayer that we know as the Tepeyac prayer. This was the prayer of Saint John Paul II when he visited the Basilica of Guadalupe in Mexico City that we have adopted. We adopted it many years ago. It has guided all of our activities. We start all of the sessions of the program every day at the conference, every presentation that I give around the world and around the country, and everything that we do is guided by this prayer because in it you will find our mission. You will find what we want to do and what we have been doing for the past 8 years. In this prayer, from St. John Paul II that we call the Tepeyac prayer. So if you would join me in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O Mother, strengthen the faith of our brothers and sisters in the laity, so that in every field of social, professional, cultural, and political life, they may act in accordance with the truth and the law brought by your Son to mankind. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and in the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Juan Diego, pray for us. Thank you so much for your attention throughout these 5 days of live stream. I know I have probably bored some of you to death, and I thank you, those who have kept watching and who have given me your attention, and particularly those who have acted or who will act after watching this series of live streams. Thank you so much, friends. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you, and please keep praying for our apostolate Tepeyac leadership. Take care.